there, everyone. This is nerve-wracking, isn't it? And I think that's very on point for what I'm going to talk about today. But thank you, firstly, for inviting me to speak. It's not my first rodeo on International Women's Day, but it's always an event that I want to show up for year after year. And that will become clear when I talk to you about the journey that I've been on. So I've worked in the recruitment and employment industry for 25 plus years. So when I started in the industry, I used to have to fax CVs. That's how old I am. And I started in a really humble agency, and I was placing administrators and customer service people and receptionists into their temp jobs. And it probably won't be a surprise to you to learn that the majority of them were women. I had baby number one, who's now 19. I moved and I wanted to cut my teeth on the finance and accountancy desk. So I moved over to the finance and accountancy desk. Didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I thought, you know what, I need to do something different. And I really started cutting my teeth on these kind of lower level admin type roles. So, accounts payable, credit control, finance, admin roles. And it probably won't be a surprise to you to learn that most of these roles were held by women too. So then baby number two arrived, who's just dragging himself through his GCSEs at the moment, which just feels like a full-time job to me. So baby number two arrived, the recession hit, and I then went and worked for an organisation to go and set up their finance and accountancy division. And I was absolutely amazed that when I joined this agency, every single one of the bosses was a guy, like without exception, every single one. And I've been doing this for quite a while now. As you know, I'd probably put on my hiking gear. I'm like kind of 10 years in. I had a network. I had a reputation in the market. I started placing people who I would say had moved up the career ladder, if you like. And it suddenly dawned on me that the majority of the people I was placing happened to be men. And then I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, what's going on here? I was completely complicit in this system. I, as the recruiter, had been trained to go out there, find the best person on the market. Who's heard that before, right? The best person on the market, the one who could do the job, the one who's got the experience. And it just dawned on me that everyone I was placing into these roles was a guy. And then something really odd happened. My client started asking me for a gender-balanced shortlist. And guess what? I couldn't deliver. And then I suddenly thought, oh, I was going to swear then, that's probably not appropriate. Oh my goodness, I'm the problem. And I was. And so everything that I'd learned in all of these years in my career, I'd fought myself into companies, even when they didn't want to use me. I'd sat myself at tables. I've had to put my big girl pants on and sit there in front of CFOs and FDs to try and win the business. And then I suddenly thought, I'm the problem. So customer demand was rising in terms of everyone's cottoning on to we need more women in, more senior positions. They were putting pressure on me as a recruiter. Yeah, all of my networks were men. And the issue I then had in my career was once I could see these inequalities, I couldn't unsee them. And then I had a choice to make. Do I want to carry on perpetuating this issue, or do I want to be part of the solution? And that's really when my work in gender equity started. And it came to my attention that the World Economic Forum predicted that it would take till 2078 for us in the Western world to achieve gender parity in terms of equal pay. So what that means for us here, sitting in this room, is if we had a niece or a daughter who was born today, they would not achieve pay equity until they were over 50. So we've got a problem. We have got a problem. And what I then needed to do was try and understand what the key factors were that were, holding women back in their careers. Because what I found when I started talking to women in my network were they were just a little bit reticent. They just held themselves back, and I had to figure out why. So that is how my journey into diversity and inclusion started. Fast forward today, my lovely colleague and co-founder Natalie is sat on the front row. We run a business called Talent Included. We do lots of diversity and inclusion consultancy work, and we help organisations to really understand where they've got their levers in gender equity and how we can start closing that gap. I'm going off on a tangent. So before I did that, though, before we set up Talent Included, sandwiched between my recruitment career, I set up a career coaching business. It was called Scoach. I retrained as a coach. I got an NLP qualification, which is great because I'm going to talk you through some of those techniques that I use with my clients today. And I set up a business that focused on empowering females to take that next step in their career, take control of their career. It could be that they wanted to take a step up into a new role. It could be what they wanted to change in direction. I coached lots of women who were returning from maternity leave saying, I can't go back there. Help me. And I also coached a lot of women who wanted to set up their own businesses. So set up, start up, change in direction, or basically level up their careers. And I'm also going to share a secret with you all as well. I also coach some men. And the best bit about this is the men had the same problems as the women. All of these challenges that we see as a female problem and as female challenge, they've all got them, right? Everyone's riddled with these. Men, women, CEOs, people starting out in their career. And I think that point is so important, okay? Because we've all got them and we've all got to work through them. So, what am I here to talk to you about today? I'm here to talk to you about these very common challenges that everyone faces. I'm going to take you on a journey from what I've learned from coaching all these individuals over all of the years. I'm going to help you hopefully take some control. And that control could be anything from controlling your career, controlling your business, taking that next step. But I think, and I truly believe, empowerment comes with that feeling of control. So I'm going to take you through that today. I'm hoping there's going to be some time, and I don't go too far off tangent, to open up for a bit of a Q&A. But yeah, I think accelerate some action is the theme of International Women's Day this year. Let's tap into that and let's get going. So, section 1. When I started listening, is this pacing annoying you? Is this because I can't sit still? Is this okay? Right, I'll try and stand still. I find it really difficult, which is why I said, please move the chairs. Anyway, right, so when I started my coaching business, I had to understand what the problem was before I was able to help people overcome it. So rather than just floating through my recruitment job, placing people left, right and centre with one arm tied behind my back and standing on my head, stuff that I found really easy, I had to start listening and start figuring out what the problem was. And I'm going to give you a few examples. It went a little something like this. I'm not good enough. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not pretty enough to go on social media. I'm not confident enough. I'm not skilled enough. And I'm not experienced enough. Do any of those sound familiar? Some nods. Okay, this is good. Okay, so I'm not here to really tell you what a limiting belief is. I mean, I could tell you that the science and the logic behind them is that, they are derived from when we were in the cave, and they are designed to keep us safe and hidden and small, okay? They're there to protect us. They're there to alert us from danger. They're there to say, don't cross that road. We like repetition. We like, in our logical brain, to know exactly what's going to happen next. So when we start pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone and we don't know what's going to happen, that's when the alarm bells start ringing. Yeah, that feeling. Oh, God, it's awful. I want that feeling to go away. I tell you what, I'll just stop doing what I'm doing. I'll stop pushing myself out of a comfort zone, because then I feel safe, I feel small, I feel hidden, and that's where we want to stay. And it's important because I'm not here to tell you that you're not going to have them, because the reality is we all are. I'm not here to tell you to ignore them and get on with it, because that's not going to help anyone. I'm here to tell you that unless you face these limiting beliefs and the problems that are holding you back, face on, they're not going to go anywhere, okay? And everything you do or attempt in your business or in your career, unless you face these limiting beliefs, are just going to show up time and time again. And so you're not going to feel like you're in flow. You're going to feel like you're constantly going uphill. You're going to feel like you're exhausted. And trust me, I know this because I've done it. I've done it over and over again. And it's really interesting, actually, some of the people that I coach, who I've coached with for years, every kind of 6 to 9 months, they show up again. Okay? And so we've got to try different techniques to go over them. But it's really important because we're going to need the resilience and we're going to need confidence to take this next step, okay? It's not just going to be handed to us on a plate. I also should probably preface all of this is I'm a really brutal coach. I'm really straight talking. And sometimes I even say in my coaching sessions, have I taken it too far? Because I see the faces. And then I have to backtrack. And I'm telling you, this is coming from a place of love. So everything I'm saying today is coming from a place of love. And it's coming from a place of like, we need to get through this, right? We need to get through this. We need to get through the other side. Because the other side is where we're trying to get to, all right? And we hide ourselves in these places where we feel safe and hidden and small. So really, I want to give you a choice today. And the choice is to remain small and remain unseen and to remain hidden and safe, or take some of this power back, take some of this control back. You know, you are the one who is in control, okay? You just need to tell yourself that. And what happens when we're playing it safe and we're playing it hidden is that we're continually telling ourselves that that's okay. So we need to change this narrative. And the things that I've learned through my NLP training is you can change the way you think, and you can change the way you feel, and you can change the way you act, and you can change the way that you react. I do this a lot with my kids. And this place of love, that saying I said earlier, it comes from a place of love, is something I use a lot. And I also ask myself, what would love do? So when my kids are like literally ripping, you know, strips out of each other or testing me, I think, what would love do right now? Not what would angry Sally who wants to lose it do? What would love do? And it's incredible. So I really want us to practice this on ourselves. So what would love do in this situation? Would you berate yourself, or would you go, do you know what? I reckon you've got this in you. I also liken this to parenthood, because in life, when we're looking for that new job, looking to apply for a new job, looking to set up that business, looking to take a different, direction in our career, I often hear things like, I'll do that when I've got a bit more time. I'll do that when I get that next, bit of experience. Another year's experience under my belt, then I'll go for that job, okay? Or I just want to get an extra qualification. And the reason I liken this to parenthood is, how many parents have we got in the room here? Probably not many. You all look so young. Has anyone ever prepared you for parenthood? I mean, seriously, you could go to all the classes, right? I mean, I've got 3 of them. I think I could one too many, personally. But, who prepares you for parenthood, right? How many people have driving lessons, pass their driving tests, and then choose to do 15 more driving lessons and 15 more, tests? You can drive, right? You've passed the driving test. But what do you do when you then pass your driving test? You then practice, right? You then go on that motorway for the first time. Petrifying, right? Absolutely petrifying. You go on the motorway, you drive in the dark, you go further than you probably should. Yeah, all of these things, you practice and practice and practice. And I think it's really important that we drive this home. I also wanted to kind of share another bit of a personal story, that when I first started doing these presentations, I would have full-on panic attacks, like full-on panic attacks. During the pandemic, us in the recruitment world felt, firstly, a little bit redundant because no one was recruiting. But secondly, for me, I was like, this is awful. There are so many people out there looking for work. And you could see it on LinkedIn, the desperation. And I thought, well, I can help. I might not be able to help them by finding them a job, but I can definitely help them with the skills that I've got. I've been teaching people how to excel at interviews for my whole professional career. So I took it upon myself to go onto LinkedIn, do a LinkedIn live series every single Tuesday to help share tips of how to get yourself noticed in the market, how to prepare yourself for interview, how to overcome some of these limiting beliefs, because when your confidence is on the floor, it's the last thing you feel like you can tackle. And It absolutely filled me with dread. Every single week, I would prepare. Again, I'd have these panic attacks. And about 8 weeks in, I thought, you know what? This isn't worth it. This isn't worth it. For the stress I'm having to go through, this is not worth it. And then I got a message from one person, and they said, thank you so much for putting that on this week. It's made such a... And that's all I needed. Because I was making it all about me, right? How do I feel? What are people thinking about me? And actually, the whole reason I wanted to do it in the first place was to help someone else. So I think it's really important that we try and get out of our heads and stop, making it all about us and think about maybe the future self. What does your future self need you to do, and how does that your future self need you to show up today for them? Or if you're in a service-based industry, what do your clients need from you? Anyway, I'm going off track again. So the point I want to make is we create these narratives, they're negative, they're repetitive, and then we basically start believing our own BS. Now, this leads me on to my next favourite topic, and trust me, I've heard all the excuses and I've heard all the complaining in my years and years and hours upon hours of coaching, okay? Is complaining going to fix what you've got going on in your life right now? Is complaining going to make you more money? Probably not. Is it going to get you promoted? Is it going to help you see solutions? Like all of this thing, again, we're on this negative loop that we really absolutely need to break through. So the question I've got for you as we wrap up this first session, in fact, actually, who goes down the gym and thinks, I want to be like that person over there who's doing the burpees? Nobody like that. No one. Because I think when you're in an exercise class, you've got two options. They're like that. Here's the easy option. Here's the burpees or the burpee jump, right? And you want to be the burpee jump person, don't you? But like you find yourself like, yeah, I'm just going to do a few mountain climbers over here, right? The burpee people only became the burpee people because they did the burpees, right? I mean, honestly, when I first started exercising after I had my kids, I'm like that. How do people do that? Guess what? They practice, they do the burpees, right? So you've got a choice. And my number one thing I want you to take away from today in section 1 is you have a choice, okay? Who do you want to show up as? Do you want to believe the narrative and the self-talk? Or do you want to do the work? Do you want to face it head on? Do you want to figure out? And my top tip here is, if you do not feel uncomfortable enough sitting with your limiting belief, it's not a limiting belief. It's got to feel uncomfortable, right? It's got to feel like you're going to have to really work through something. And I promise you, once you've worked through it, it might pop up again, but you will work through it. Okay, so section 2. The next thing I see a lot of is lack of clarity. So people come to me and I'm like, right, what do you want to get out of today's session? Or what do you want to get out of this coaching program? And they can't answer. And lack of clarity for me is kind of twofold. Is it lack of confidence, and that lack of confidence thing we can work on? Or is it lack of actually, I don't even know what it is I'm trying to achieve, okay? And clarity is so important because it acts as so many different, it helps our brains in so many different ways, okay? So firstly, if you haven't got clarity, it makes achieving that goal completely impossible because you don't know where you're going to be when you achieve it. You don't know what that looks like. You don't know what that feels like. You don't know if you feel like it's going to be accomplished. So we just tend to kind of drift through life, okay? But also, when we really understand what it is we really want, and sometimes it takes a couple of sessions to really try to work that through, it acts as this magnet. And the magnet is the most powerful thing ever because when you really tap into your why is it that I want to make this impact? Why is it that I want to follow this dream? It's like this inequality stuff that I've got myself into. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like a draw. So if anyone ever says to me, Sally, do you want to come and do it? Yeah, and I'll say yes to anything if it's impacting gender equity because it's something that's so important to me. So it acts as a magnet. It's really, really important that we can identify that. Now, for me, in my logical mind, I'll have a flat back bit of furniture. Anything I can follow a system, I can follow a process. So when you have a goal, you can then identify what steps you're going to need to take it. How long do you think it might need to take? Are there any skills that you need to learn, or what do you need to practice on the way to get you to that goal? And also, most importantly, who is going to help you get there? And I think those things are really important. We can start mapping that out and start understanding what your first step is going to be. And, you know, there could be some skills that you may want to learn and need to learn and practice. And they could be anything from, you know, becoming good at public speaking is going to take practice. Becoming good at, you know, sharing your ideas is going to mean that you're going to have to share a couple of ideas. You know, get a buddy to go into a meeting with and say, I'm thinking about sharing this today. You know, get some allyship. You know, gaining more followers on social media means, guess what? You're going to have to post more on social media. Like, this stuff is really, really simple when you think about it. And I think we get so wrapped up in the I can't, we forget to do the do. So, knowing what you're trying to achieve is really, really important. Being clear on that end goal is really important. And this isn't about manifestation. I am a bit woo, by the way, but this isn't about manifestation. This is about a visualization and, you know, understanding what it is that you're trying to achieve. So think about it in terms of another kind of questioning technique that I can help you with is, what we try and tend to do is get wrapped up in, like I said, the I can't. If you ask yourself an open-ended, solutions-focused question, you will come up with the answer. So, for example, if I was to say, I'm really disorganized and I'm really poor at time management, what I could say, that could be my statement, my problem statement. What I could say is, if I was really organized and great at time management, I would X, Y, Z. And then immediately your brain goes into this kind of affirming territory. And it's like, well, I would try this. I would delegate more. I would block some time out of my diary. For me, it would be, I would stop having crazy ideas at 3 a.m. that I can rule the world, or that I take on too much, or deciding to rip 2 bathrooms out of my house at the same time. Like, this is stuff I have to contend with. But it's really important to, you know, put yourself in this affirming territory. And I think the interesting point on this is, we do it with our kids all the time, okay? We coach our kids, we laser coach our kids all the time. What do you think? I do it to my husband all the time when he says, how long should I put this in the microwave for? I say, what do you think? Because I could easily ask him, get him, you know, give him the answer, but I said, what do you think? So we do this with our team members all the time, the people we're trying to coach. We do it with our kids all the time, but we don't do it on ourselves. So it's really important that we have very open-ended, solutions-focused questions that we're trying to answer for ourselves, and it will catapult us into affirming territory. Okay, section 3. So the last section, now I will go into a bit of a Q&A if we've got any time left, is... Okay, this is where I'm putting my brutal pants back on here. Okay, holding yourself to account. Okay, this one's a biggie. I put myself on a health kick before my daughter's birth. I got 7 weeks. I'm day 2. I'm holding myself to account really hard, because when I'm on the train, all I want to do is eat chocolate. Seriously. I don't know what it is about trains. I just want to eat chocolate. I've got a 3.5-hour train journey to go back to in a minute. Anyway, day 2, I'm holding myself to account. So I want to be that person in 7 weeks' time who can fit in the jeans. I cannot fit in the jeans at the moment. Anyway, I'm going off on tangent. So, holding yourself to account. Now, mentorship and sponsorship is really important, okay? It's really important for us as females. It's really important that we go and look for mentorship and sponsorship, and it's really important that we pay that forward to other females, okay? But trust me when I say, if there's one thing I've learned, is that we've got to hold ourselves to account first, okay? So no one is going to come along and push you forward. People are going to motivate you. People are going to encourage you. People are going to inspire you. But no one is going to physically push you forward. No one's going to hand you the confidence that you need to take that step and magically make things happen for you. So you have to take your progress as your own responsibility. And again, I hear that I'll do that when I finish that project. I'll do that when I have more time. I'll do that thing when I feel more confident. And I'll do that when someone else validates that I'm ready. You're ready for that promotion now. You've got to make that decision, okay? And I think it's really important because excuses are another way, let's go back into the cave, okay? Another way of playing it small. Their excuses are another way of being hidden and being safe. And one of the key things that somebody told me once, I think I was probably on some kind of weird diet at the time, was that procrastination is self-sabotage, okay? The choices that you make, that you're going against what you're actually trying to achieve, all of that is self-sabotage. And self-sabotage is another way of basically saying, I'm going to, fall into my limiting beliefs. I surrender. There you go. You're in control. You take it. And we are going to be tested probably every single day until we achieve that goal as to whether or not we're going to stay the course, whether or not we're going to have the resilience. And all those people out there that you think have made it, she can stand up on stage, it's okay for her to do it. They haven't got there just by doing it. They've gone there by actually doing it, by practicing and failing and getting up and failing again and having self-doubt and getting up. Poor Natalie had to spend the whole day with me. And every time we do this, she goes, oh, you're doing it again. You're doing it again, because I have this whole self-doubt. Well, what if everyone gets up and walks off? What if I lose my notes? What if I go off on a tangent, which I've already done 10 times? Do you know what? I did a LinkedIn Live once and went like that. I don't know why I had a candle in I went like that and put my paper on fire whilst I was on the LinkedIn Live. It can't go any more catastrophically wrong than that. I don't know what can. Anyway, so... we're programmed to play it small, okay? I hate to use the word patriarchy, but I'm going to use it, okay? It's in everyone else's interest for us to stay exactly where we are. Everyone else's interest, but you've got to put yourself first, okay? And you've got to put yourself forward. So, we're nearly at the end. What would I do without my notes? I'd be lost. Okay, so... recognizing the patterns that showing up for you are really, really important, okay? Another thing, and I've been listening to quite a lot of podcasts recently, and listening to ones on crying. I don't know why. They're obviously coming up in my algorithm. But whenever someone cries, you're like, oh, don't cry. Are you okay? Stop, okay? It's almost like we're trying to suppress all this emotion. And I think that it happens the same with limiting beliefs. We try and suppress them. We try and move them away. We try and just shove them off. But actually, we've got to face them, okay? We've got to overcome them. So sit with them. If something makes you feel uncomfortable, sit with it and push forward. And understand and recognise what these patterns that are showing up for you. Because once you've understood the patterns, you can take control and get over them. So, let's do a little wrap, I think. I always say as well when I do lots of talking, which is ironic because I've been asked to come and talk, is I just talk too much, and actually I hate the sound of my own voice. But let's bring it back to the essentials. Let's have a recap. Number one, do the inner work, okay? The limiting beliefs, the negative self-talk, the patterns of doubt, you're going to have to face them head on, because if you don't, they're going to keep showing up time and time again, and it's up to you, no one else, to rewrite them, okay? Number two, get really, really clear on that goal, okay? You can't hit a target you can't see. Clarity isn't just about setting a goal. It's about understanding why it matters and connecting deeper to that purpose. Make your goal a magnet, because that pulling force is going to get you through everything that you need to do, okay? And then the third one, hold yourself to account. Stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect circumstances, the perfect version of yourself. Procrastination is just fear in disguise. That one hits, doesn't it? Ugh. When you're procrastinating, I can do anything to not do the task in hand, but yeah, that one hits. And finally, I suppose, accelerate your own action. And how long have we got? Did I do that in time? I've got 1 minute. I can't believe that. I feel like I need a round of applause for keeping that on time. I was worried it would be 12 minutes.